T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 60 seconds. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's weird that you can't hear anything. Usually, yeah. I thought I messed something up. Welcome, everyone, to the 5 Foot Viking podcast, where we get to drink a beer and learn something new. Today, my guest is a good friend of mine. He is the lead singer in a Metallica tribute band called Damage Inc. He's about 6'2". He's one of the best neighbors you could ever ask for, and he's just a great human being. Christopher Knight, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It was a long way getting here, 5 steps across the hall.
I was going to ask you, how was the traffic?
Yeah, it took me a bit to find parking, but yeah, no, it's awesome to be here.
Well, it's good to have you, man. Like I said in the description, we live. I could throw a rock into your house from my house, but we hardly ever see each other.
Right.
So
we ran out of rocks a couple of months ago.
Well, it's great to have you here. And the first section that we have on this podcast is that it's the beer drinking section. So I am drinking a Four Sons beer today because we are going to be talking about touring in Mexico. So I'm drinking a Mexican lager called Suds, and it's 4.1% from Four Sons Brewery, and that is in Huntington Beach, California. And my guest tonight is drinking.
Got Mexican Coke here.
Yes.
In honor of our story of terrible Vanna White. But yeah, we've got the real thing going on here. No corn syrup in this Coke.
Well, and you're drinking Mexican Coke because you have been sober now for 3 years?
Yeah, just celebrated 3 years at the end of January.
Okay, what was the guiding force in because we've had some great drunken moments, and so I'm pretty sure that was part of it.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the volume of them might have been kind of the kicker finally. No, it was just getting to the point where it wasn't doing me any favors, really.
Okay.
I think the excess was, again, it just kind of got to a point where it was like, I have a good moderation plan going into drinking responsibly, and then, 4 beers later, I don't know where that guy went. It's like, what happened to him? My chaperone left. So it's like that Blake Shelton song, "The More I Drink."
Okay.
If I have one, I have 13. So I just figured, in order to kind of keep most of the people around me sane, that it would be a good idea. And again, it just, we're any given night we're going out and running up $250 bar tabs.
True.
And paying for it for the next couple of days at my age.
Oh, yeah. I don't bounce back like I used to.
Nah. So, it was just, I finally woke up and I'm like, you know what? I can't moderate. I've tried it a couple times. I'm like, I only have a couple beers, and I'm like, I can't moderate. So maybe it's just this isn't for me.
Was this like a instant, just overnight, like, okay, I'm done, cold turkey type thing?
Pretty much. I mean, it did culminate in uber drunken night at NAMM. So I mean, it's kind of no coincidence that it was the last weekend in January. That's when the NAMM convention was, and of course that's. I mean, anybody that's been with me knows it's an all-day drinking event for the most part.
That's like 3 days worth of good stuff.
Yeah, no, you're pretty much beer line to beer line. Typically got a pocket whiskey on you. Yeah. Anything you can get your hands on. But yeah, it's like I don't know, just too many days of having my story told to me the next day.
Man.
Yeah,
how bad is that?
Yeah,
and it's the next day of texting your friends that you think you saw, like, hey man, what did I do? I'm just apologizing up front.
Right. Yeah, I'm just going to throw a preemptive apology out there. And what's kind of funny is, like, especially considering my friends, I'm surprised because you can really take liberties with that. I don't know shit. I was completely blacked out. It's like, dude, you totally went out last night and went streaking right down the street. Now, chances are I probably did.
That doesn't mean I want to hear it.
Right, yeah, no. So, I mean, you can come up with all kinds of stories, but my friends were just kind of like, oh, dude, yeah, you last night, you were feeling pretty good. So.
All right. Well, in those 3 years, have you, I'm curious if you've noticed a change, not so much in waking up the next morning and feeling better, but more like, have you noticed a change with your vocals, with your stamina, with your, fitness, with your...
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, so I've always kind of worked out, and I know you couldn't tell it by, the body by Jake I've got going on, but COVID's been rough, folks. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working out, and it kind of plateaued for a little bit, and when I quit doing the booze, it just the pounds melted off. So that was kind of a shocking result initially. That happened within a couple of months. Vocally, I tend to have kind of a dry voice anyway, and we all know that alcohol does nothing to help that, pretty much. In fact, it's worse, typically for your voice. So I mean, it would I definitely find myself being a little bit stronger going into the night.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's really made a difference. I mean, I'd say if I missed any part of drinking, and I'm fortunate to where I didn't really have a physical addiction to the point where it's like I'm sneaking bottles of vodka during the day or anything like that, but. And I know people struggle with that.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to not have to deal with it that severely. I just liked to drink. And the only thing that I think I kind of miss about it, and if you're looking at the column, the pro and cons column, I've got one little thing here that I kind of miss about it.
And a whole
a long list of stuff that, was told to me the next day. It's just trying the new beers. So I kind of like doing that. I think the Mexican Coke is a fine substitute.
Okay. Well, yeah, Skol.
Skol.
It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, guys, we got a few comments already.
Everybody wants to hear the James. Yeah.
We got this one. Give him one more.
Yeah.
Gotta have that.
Hopefully we'll be doing it soon for you guys.
I saw this one earlier. I love this one. We've got some matching beards going on. This is the
starter kit.
Yeah, this one. This one is the I don't have a job.
Yeah, no, I certainly have some beard envy there. My wife, not a fan, so she doesn't really like this. So
no,
and she's got a little bit of a conundrum because she doesn't have the same hair color. So it's I mean, a little bit of leverage there, but I kind of wanted to compromise, and as long as the beard's not, as long as I don't look like Kenny Rogers.
Yes. Well, I'll be getting there pretty soon, I think.
You're catching up. You got a long way to go, though. I definitely have more salt and pepper going on.
Yeah. We're getting some good stuff here. I like this. We're going live. Edgar, if you are watching, the weirdest part is I went live like I normally do, but could you guys hear any of the audio from the countdown? Because we couldn't hear it. I don't know what was going on. But anyways, with that being said, I wanted to move on to just our first topic of the evening. Is we're talking about music, we're talking about touring. So before we get into the touring part, I'm curious, have you always played guitar growing up, or did you just pick it up because you look like James Hetfield and they needed someone in the band, and you're like, dude, learn guitar because we can hire you?
There's like an explorer stuck in a rock or whatever.
Yeah.
It finally came along. No, actually, What's funny is I've always been musical. I mean, as long as I can remember. So we were kind of a musical family growing up. We did the the car trips, the sing-alongs, like the Flanders,
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was kind of fun. But you kind of get that start, and then listen to my parents' music, which I grew up in the '70s and '80s. But my parents' music, when I was listening to that, would have been in the '70s. So I got a pretty steady diet of the Beatles. And all the cool kind of classics back then. Yeah. And so that really kind of, the Beatles were really my first introduction into a band that I guess it would be my first band that I was a fan of. Okay. I mean, I liked all kinds of music, but they were really something that I kind of latched onto. I would go through my parents' vinyls back before vinyl was cool.
Yeah, right.
Just, kids going through our vinyl collection here, and it's like scratching on the but it was like that was kind of the draw for me. I think I got a guitar when I was like 6 or 7, maybe a little bit older than that. But it was kind of like one of those toy guitars, and it never really stuck. What kind of changed for me was my sister got a guitar for Christmas, and it was the Christmas of my 18th birthday, so just hadn't really played, in depth before, so didn't know how to tune it even. I think it just happened to be kind of in some sort of, it was like an open tuning or something where I would just move my finger up the fret and kind of
goes from here to here to here.
Right, exactly. So I played it like a drummer. But it kind of stuck. It was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then right about that time, my buddy Jeff, who's still a friend of mine from high school, he let me hear Metallica, and the song happened to be "Fade to Black," and it has that awesome acoustic, that super clean, awesome acoustic intro into it. And I was just like, okay, that's got to happen. I got to sit down and figure that out. So I basically sat down and learned the intro to that song. And for probably about 3 or 4 years, I was really good at playing pieces of songs. Okay. I probably couldn't play the whole thing, but unless we're talking like, your standard row, row, row your boat or Red River Valley, the starter songs. But yeah, any sort of metal song or anything that I was kind of learning that was out at that time was like, okay, I want to learn that riff. And it's like, all right, I don't kind of get the other stuff, but that riff's cool, so I kind of stick with that.
How old were you at that time?
18.
Okay.
And that kind of went on for about, maybe 6 or 7 years. I started getting a little bit better at playing, but it was mostly just living room stuff. Yeah. My brother at the time was not in a band, but he was in band in high school. So he played the sousaphone.
And he's younger than you.
He is, yeah. Younger brother, 4 years younger than me. So he was also, we had, again, having a musical background in the family. He was a sousaphone player. And
is that the one that wraps around you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Big. No, totally. Yeah, the elephant ear size.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It's
so, Kevin, I hope you're watching this.
I'm sure there's pictures somewhere. all those embarrassing family photos. But so he was kind of doing that at his age, so he would have been maybe just pre-teens, or maybe a little bit later, and so he would get together and he would play the bass parts of songs. I'd kind of go through some Metallica songs like Nothing Else Matters, and he'd throw down the bass with like the sousaphone. I think at that time actually he had a tube. He was like lugging the whole sousaphone around, but in the same family. But anyway. He shipped off to the Marines. So he turned 18, wound up going and shipping off to the Marines. And while he was overseas, he met some other Marines that were all into music. And at that time, he also happened to see a promo video for the Marines that had Hell's Bells in the background. So it's like, you got the helicopter coming up over the horizon with that Hell's Bells intro riff in it. And it was just like, you had that same kind of moment where it's just like, oh, that's awesome. Kind of got him into the metal stuff. He's like, hey, my brother listens to Metallica, so maybe I should get into some of that too. And so while he's over there, he meets a couple of other guys that are kind of like-minded, and he starts a band with them.
In the military?
In the military, yeah. Okay. So they were in Okinawa for a while when the band kind of formed, and then they come back to Pendleton. So he gets back into California, and the band's still kind of playing. They have 4 people, but my brother wanted to rope me into doing it. Now, at this time, I was, again, just the living room player, kind of shy. I still am.
Okay, I want to jump in real quick. So this whole time that your brother's into Metallica, you've heard a few tunes, you're on the couch and you're doing your thing, and he wants to start this band. this whole time, did you not know that you look like the guy, or did you not look like him back then? Because you look just like him. I mean, now on stage, we've seen some side-by-side pictures, and for everybody that's at home, if you get a chance to go, let me put this up for everybody so you guys can do this. Go to damageinc.us, damageinc.us. DamageInc.us, no Sotros. Go there, you can see some pictures, and you will see some crazy photos of him on stage. And you might even be able to go look on Google and find some side-by-sides. But, like, I mean, I've seen some side-by-sides that are, like, impressive. Like, wow, impressive. Of how much you look. So back then, did you know that you looked like him, and maybe that was an idea of starting that band?
Not really. I mean, I didn't really at the time. We're going back to like kind of the early '90s at the time. So this was like Black Album. James had the sort of Lemmy chops going on, with the mustache, had the Cowardly Lion look, with the long hair, and I certainly did not look anything like that. I had more of the chin goatee going on, and so when he kind of swapped his look to that sort of look, that I think that's when. We started looking a little bit more alike, but that was the band that kind of got me into guitar. So even during my living room playing, I was trying to mimic those songs. So I mean, my playing style and what I learned was heavily influenced by Metallica, but we didn't really make that natural transition until later. When he came back with the Marine band. That kind of roped me in, thinking that we'll get another guitar player. We need a lead guitar player. That's how desperate they were.
Well, what year was this when you guys got together?
This probably would have been the late '90s at this time. So,
and the original members were
the original members of the band were okay. This is getting back in the memory here. Gilly, Kevin, of course, my brother.
Okay.
Jed, who was our singer at the time, and John was our drummer. Originally, and we did that for a little bit, and then John re-upped into the Marines and went back to Okinawa, and so we were kind of drummerless for a little bit. I happened to work at the time at a security company with this guy named Boyd, and we were kind of talking, and if you've seen Boyd, and we both know what he looks like, but he's not your prototypical drummer as far as his look. So when we're kind of talking just in conversation, he's like I'm like we're playing in a band and just kind of doing covers like Metallica and Godsmack and Megadeth, and he's like, oh, I like all that stuff. I play drums actually, and I'm like, no. Get out of here. So we actually one of our
shout out to Boyd, man. I miss you, brother. Every now and then I see you popping up on Facebook and social media. Man, I miss that dude. That's a skull to Boyd.
He's a good dude. I love him. So anyway, so he's like his impromptu audition. We had I think a few of the guys, the security guys that I was jamming with, not to play live anywhere. I just wanted to get together with some other guys,
have some fun,
right? Just have some fun. So we happened to be doing that, and he's like, "Well, I can hop on there and kind of show you what I can do." And so I think we played For Whom the Bell Tolls, and I mean, the kit we were doing was like it was like an old church kit or something. It was like one
all
drum.
Different colors.
Yeah, exactly. It was just the one step up from Hello Kitty. So he still did an impressive job, and I'm like, I was blown away. I'm like, I knew him already. We were kind of buddies, so I pitched it to the guys. The guys were like, cool. Seems like a cool guy. So we wound up doing that for a while. I think we played our first show. I don't remember the exact date, but it was in the late '90s, like around '98. And it was at a place called Bub's Whiskey Dive off of Pierview Way. And if you're a Marine, you know exactly where I'm talking about. It's right down there by Pendleton. The exit.
I wonder who booked that show.
Yeah, exactly. The only people that Kevin was booking the band for the longest time. But I think his buddy Jed might have had a hand in this one too. So anyway, we were doing that for a while, and then Jed wound up taking off. John came back actually from his tour at the time, and so we're like, oh, this is kind of the conundrum here. What are we going to do? And so the guys are like, well, we want John. You got to tell Boyd he's out. And I'm like, that sucks. I'm like, why do I got to tell him he's out? That's not cool. He's your friend. I'm like, okay, that's not cool. So I kind of put it off, and didn't really tell him. And meanwhile, we're playing with the other drummer, and Boyd happened to be working next door, and he pulls up, and it was like catching the catching the guy with the girl or whatever. It was so bad.
With your pants down.
Oh yeah, it was so bad. So we talked it out, and Boyd wound up coming back into the band eventually, and Jed wound up leaving. And so we were just kind of playing covers for a little bit. Wound up picking up another friend of ours, Dave Gold, our original
Dave.
guitar player.
Shout out to Dave. Miss you, brother.
Yeah. So after the other band members left, it was just Kevin and I and Boyd. So we did a 3-piece cover for a long time, probably about 3 or 4 years.
Now, is this all still under the Damage Inc. umbrella?
No,
this is all just, you guys are just having fun?
Yeah, just having fun for a few years. Damage Inc. started in 2004. So what had happened was we had, or as my wife likes to say, what had happened?
What had happened was...
Shout out to Karen.
Yes, shout out to Karen next door. Or
Next door.
maybe she's not next door just yet, but she will be listening.
Yeah. So what had happened was, I forgot where I was going.
We were talking about how the band started in 2004.
Oh, right. So Dave comes on board.
Yeah.
And we were doing, covers with him. And he met him at Guitar Center, and we were doing the 3-piece thing for a while, and he asked, well, who's your guitar player? Because Kevin was going to buy an amp. Bumped into Dave, and was kind of telling him, hey, we're a 3-piece. We do covers. We do Metallica and Megadeth. And he's like, Metallica, Megadeth? Well, we're a 3-piece. Who's doing your solos?
Yeah.
And I was doing my best at kind of splitting between the two.
Wow.
I mean, you play a 3-piece. You know how you guys have to
it's not easy, bro.
You have to fill in the blanks a little bit.
You got to play big.
Right,
you gotta, I mean, it's all, there's no staccato notes. You got to play open.
Yeah, and nobody does it as good as you do. We were not even touching your shoelaces.
This is veteran, like 20 years in a 3-piece. Like trust me, when I get the opportunity to play with a bigger band, I'm like, oh, this is fun. I don't have to play big. I can play my part.
I just play bass.
I don't have to sing. So
we're like, well, we don't have another guitar player. And he's like, well, I know those solos. So we brought him in, and the first song we did with him was 4 Horsemen. And got to the solo part. We're like, and he totally nailed it.
Really? Awesome.
We're like, this is going to be good. So we still did the cover thing for a little bit.
Okay.
But then we were friends with a band that only did Black Sabbath. And we saw them play a show at the Anaheim House of Blues. It was a Tuesday night kind of thing. And it was like one of the, I think it was a Rick Ortiz Represents kind of thing back then.
We played with you at a Rick Ortiz Represent when I was in Dealin's Alley. Back in the day, it was my original project. It was fun.
Good old Rick Ortiz.
Yeah, that guy, he gave us a lot of shots.
Certainly did.
Certainly.
So we saw them doing that, and we're like, well, we're kind of playing little bars and stuff like that. And we're like, well, we'd like to play a bigger show. So we're like, well, what if we just did Metallica? And when we were doing the cover before, our old singer Jed was an okay Metallica fan, but it wasn't like, it's like, I don't want to be a Metallica cover band. So that was kind of hanging over our heads a little bit. But when he left, it's like, well, there's nothing really stopping us from being a Metallica band.
Let's do this.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's play to our strengths. Again, kind of mimic my style learning that sort of stuff. So it was kind of a natural transition to go to that. And then it was just a question of starting to, grow. I think we had probably about 90 minutes to start. Which isn't hard for Metallica.
It's true. It's so true. I was thinking, you're like, 90 minutes to start.
No, we had 4 songs and we had to cut one.
Well, here's a quick question from somebody. Alberto wants to know, what is your favorite Metallica song to perform? Because now that's different, because some of them, there, at least to me anyways, there's a lot of songs that I like to hear, but as far as playing them, there's a big difference.
Sure.
Some of them, are not my most favorite. So which one would be your favorite one that you like to perform?
Wow. I would say on a consistent basis, probably my favorite one to perform is Fade to Black. Okay. And again, maybe it just holds a special place for me being kind of the first song. It's such an epic song. As far as typically what it is for me right now, my favorite song to play is whatever's new.
Okay.
You know how that is. It's like, hey, this is the new...
because you've been playing you've been playing a lot of the same, especially because being in a tribute band, you have your 90-minute set.
Right.
And a lot of the times you got to stick to, you got to throw in the hits, and you can throw in a couple of the misses, but you got to throw in the hits. So I'm sure you played Master of Puppets more times than
exactly. Enter Sandman. It's like and you have to, and you're right when you're doing a 90-minute set, especially if you're traveling or going to a place where nobody's seen you before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, that's cool, bro, with playing all the B-sides and stuff, but don't bore us. Get to the chorus. Let's start kicking out with some Sandman and some of the radio hits that I'm familiar with. And you get a different range of fan out there too. You get some people that want to hear those deep cuts, and obviously the people that are kind of like, I brought my girlfriend to the Metallica show, and are you guys going to play Nothing Else Matters? It's like, so there's a wide range of fans that typically show up there.
Okay, so I know one thing about me and you is that whenever we get together and we start talking, we go down tangents, which is
totally,
which is fantastic. I love it, and that's why it's always fun talking with you. But the challenge for me today, especially being on the podcast, is to try and stay on part. But like, I know we were talking about how the group started, how they started moving. Now, once you actually started the band, the group that you're with now, the members that you're with now, how long has that core been together?
Since 2011.
2011. So yourself, Tone, Brightwell, and Kevin.
Yes.
And
Tone was the last one to join. Boyd had actually been our drummer for quite some time. We got together in 2004, so for well over 7 years, he was behind the drum kit. And you're raising kids.
Yeah.
He was the only band at the time.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know, me neither. And he was the only one in the band that had kids. And so, you know how a band is. It's like if you play one day, especially if it's a travel show, that's your weekend.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you're missing dances and sporting events and stuff like that. So, I mean, he got to play the shows he wanted to play and was happy, felt satisfied. And
well, he still comes out and supports.
Yeah, totally.
He's an awesome, incredible human being.
He really is.
So
he really is. I like him. I like playing with him. I like hanging out with him. But he wound up stepping away, and Tone was the most recent one to join the band, and we've had this current lineup now since 2011.
And okay, now we're going to talk PC. We're going to talk pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, how many shows roughly were you doing a year? I know, right? We're going to go way back right now. We're going to break out the calendar right now and figure it out.
Yeah. So before COVID, I'd say at our peak, we were probably around 40 to 45 shows a year.
Okay. And are a lot of those traveling shows or a lot of those local shows?
Good mix. It was a good mix. I mean, you want to kind of keep this. We're from Southern California, and this is kind of where we really grew our roots. And so you want to kind of remain relevant. I mean, that's at least the way we saw it. So it's cool to go out and play travel shows, meet new people. I mean, we'll get into all that stuff, talking about the touring.
Well, actually, here's a quick question that is related to this. What was your favorite place to perform?
Oh, that's a good question. There's actually a few, and it's tough to narrow them down. Yeah. I would say
let's go top three.
Sure, top three. Top three. I would say the Hangar at the Orange County Fair.
Oh yeah,
it's a great show. 30-foot video screen, so you can count all my pores.
I tried to turn the lights down.
I know. Right.
Help you out here.
Yeah, please. I look best in the dark. But they got the big setup. It's a full production there. They open up the hangar doors, so not only do you have the people sitting in there, but anybody that's sitting outside can see the show.
Okay.
So that's an epic place to play. I'd say for a regular show, my favorite place right now is Anaheim House of Blues. Mm-hmm. You get a couple thousand people in there, and it's packed, and they kind of look the other way on the moshing, provided that nobody gets carted out of there. So it's kind of the ultimate indoor concert experience, I guess, if you will, for on a tribute level, for the most part. I would say the other one that's, there's so many. Yeah. I love, there's a place in Vegas called Vamp that we play. The gas lamp out here is awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's tough to narrow them down. The swap meet actually is a lot of fun too. And I didn't think it would be when Boyd told me, hey, I talked to the swap meet and I think I might get us a show. And I'm like, you booked us at a swap meet.
But then you get there.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is fun. Right. Okay, so for me, Fantasy Springs Casino.
That's a great one too.
That's a great one.
I mean, how do you narrow it down? It's like there's so many awesome venues out there. But if I had to play one venue or maybe, I don't know, 15 venues or something like that, those would be it.
Well, I like what you said about Vamped. We came up there. I think me and Marlene came up there to surprise you guys one night when we were in town. We were coming back from my family's house, and we knew that you guys were playing there, so we made sure that we stopped in and we just kind of walked in, saw you guys, and you're right. That place it's very intimate, but it's. How do you explain it? It's like it's an intimate venue, but it feels like a big venue.
Right. It's like a big setup in a small setting.
Yes.
It's like they kind of like you doing the 3-piece, you got to play big or whatever. It's like that place plays really big. It's they've got like the backdrop is a wall of Marshall amps. Yeah. They've got pro lighting going on there. The sound is amazing. The staff is incredible. I mean, they make us feel like family. Every time we go out there, and that's actually true for most of the places we play. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's really gracious to us.
Also, you guys are very gracious, and you guys are not divas or anything. And I think I found that in my career, that translates a lot. If you come into a venue and you come into a place and you know that you're going to do your job and you're going to put on your show and you're going to and you don't take on a fucking attitude, right. You know, you're going to gravitate towards people that do the same thing. Yeah. So.
Well, I don't know. The way I've looked at it is you really got to be a special kind of asshole to not even be the guy, but act like, you know, like you are the guy. So I don't know. That's never appealed to me. That's just not my nature. You know, I feel fortunate to be able to do anything that we're able to do. And you realize, I never thought I took it for granted, but you realize how much you do when you're hit with something like this. And, you know, we did like 6 shows last year.
Oh, and, I know.
You know
that's something we're going to get into as well. Actually, I just got a text message. So to let everybody know who's watching, all 6 of you, if there's some people that are commenting on the podcast, and I would love to see the comments, but I can only see the comments for the people that are watching the podcast from the 5 Foot Viking platform. Unfortunately, that's just the way that the streaming and podcast works. If for instance I shared it from my personal page, if Chris shared it from his personal page, if you comment on those streams, unfortunately we don't see the comments. We only see the ones that are posted for the people that are actually watching from the platform of the 5 Foot Viking page on Facebook or the 5 Foot Viking page on YouTube. I think that's what's going down. So, but anyways, I got a text for that. So I just want to let you guys know because we would love to connect with you guys. I love seeing the comments and seeing what you guys are up to and seeing the questions that you guys have for my neighbor, Christopher Knight, the lead singer for Damage Inc. Who do we got? Oh, we got Jeff Bedoing.
Hi, diddly.
Yeah. What up, dudes? The travel to get to the podcast, there must have been brutal.
It was, dude. Yeah. Brake lights the whole way over. Yeah. It was terrible.
It was. Oh, we got some good friends here. DW3, 5 Foot Brother. Love you. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. I don't know which one, but there's 3 of them in that band. There is Billy, Eric, and Damon, and they are just fantastic individuals and musicians. And thanks for tuning in. Much love. So getting the band, making that happen, doing different gigs, getting up there, and now I wanted to jump into the reason why I'm drinking a Mexican lager, and the reason why you're drinking a Mexican Coke is because we've had conversations, past and present, drinking and not drinking, and you have some great stories when it comes to touring Mexico. And one of my biggest questions was, because I know that especially metal, like and rock and roll, like real true like metal in Mexico is huge.
Oh, for sure.
And it's crazy because a very, very quick story. That's literally how me and my wife met. Was because we were both into a band called Dream Theater.
Nice.
And they're nobody knows who Dream Theater is.
So like, you're the other two.
Yeah. So we when we met, she had a keychain that had Dream Theater on it, and I was like, whose keychain is this? And she was like, oh, that's mine. I was like, what do you know about Dream Theater? She's like, what do you know about Dream Theater? And my wife is from Mexico, so she was so into it. But she got into it, but she also told me that in Mexico, a lot of the fans there that are fans of metal, they just go out of their way to they love and support music and metal and everything. So being a tribute band and going down into Mexico, how many tours have you done in Mexico?
It's like war. I've done 3 tours.
You done 3 tours.
I got that 1,000-yard stare now.
Okay, I got 7 Tecates.
Right. Got the bottle caps painted on the car. Yeah, no. So that was actually really, really interesting. So we were working with a company called Music Zirconia.
Okay.
And they book a lot of tributes out there. And we're always trying to branch out. At this time, we were established. We're right around the 2011, 2012 mark. And my band can correct me if I'm a little fuzzy on the dates. There's been a lot of years, a lot of booze. My brain cells were making an exodus like they were leaving California over the last 10 years. So I might be a little fuzzy on the dates. But so we're trying to branch out a little bit. And so they hit us up and say, hey, we have a potential show for you at this stadium in Tijuana. And we're like
a stadium?
Yeah.
Or like a bullfighting arena?
Well, stadium was what we heard. So we're like, okay, yeah, we're totally down with doing this. So we it being another country, we're like, all right, well, we're not exactly sure what we need to do. Get over there. It's our first time doing any sort of international travel.
But before we get into all this, who is making all the decisions for this? Like, do you guys do it? You guys get together as a band, make the decisions, but who goes out and books everything? Is Kevin still doing all that?
No, that's actually my wife. So
okay,
yeah,
so she's your manager.
Yeah, my wife Karen does our booking, and what we found early on, and Kevin would even admit this too. And I think it's kind of tough. I know you guys are in the situation a little bit, but when you're in the band, it's more difficult. Not impossible, but when you're in the band, it's more difficult to separate yourself
for sure
as a booker, and maybe you don't necessarily get your full market value in some instances because you're more eager to play the show versus what you could potentially make in some things. And the benefit that we had with my wife doing it is she had been playing. She's an established musician herself. Was a guitar player in Thunderstruck for a while.
Bass player
in Motley's Crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of all the bands here. She'll help me out here. But right now she's doing the Great Pumpkin in Seattle's Best. So really rocking the grunge thing right now. She does an awesome job in the Smashing Pumpkins thing. But not to get off on one of our tangents here. She is really good at having a lot of connections. I think that's what she does best. I mean, she connects with people. She's quite the talker. And really good at making connections and really having that forceful push, if you will, to kind of get us in some of these locations. So
it's always good to have that person that you can hand it off to. I totally understand when we're in a band and when we're people are approaching us, and I mean I love the hey man, I want you to play in my backyard because trust me, I got all the booze that you can have. Right, there's going to be food and booze and
sandwiches over the cooler over there.
And don't get me wrong, I'm very appreciative of that.
Totally.
But at the same time, you being able to separate yourself, that's gold right there. Is being able to separate yourselves and be the entertainer, be the artist, be the performer who comes in and does that. But then if someone wants to talk business, let's pass the buck.
Totally. And I mean, let's be real. While we're having fun up there and doing the show, that's a great time. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes before you're hitting that first note. It's a lot more work. And nowadays, with all the technology out there, it's been scaled down a little bit from what it once was. But there's still a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. Especially traveling, that have to be done. So if you have somebody that can take the booking and that sort of aspect, the business aspect off of your plate.
This is great. Looks like a podcast for Hunter's Lodge Tales. I got the beard and the
lumberjack alley. Skull.
Cheers, guys.
Better take it easy on this Mexican Coke.
I know.
Like a cornholio here.
I got 4.1% over here. You got like 67 grams of sugar.
Right. 1.001. It's good stuff.
So back to so you're booking all these things going into Mexico. What's the first one? You did the stadium.
Right. The stadium. So we get out there and we get across the border, kind of go through some of the shops. So I think we had to get set up relatively early. They sent us over with a handler. We had a handler like we're circus bears or something. But it was great because Roger, and I love him. He's my homie. He absolutely made the trip and every subsequent trip, because we demanded that he go with us moving forward after this trip. But every trip that we've taken with him, he has been a lifesaver. I mean, you know, I know enough Spanish to order food and get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I understand a little bit more, way more than I can speak.
Absolutely.
And I probably am the most fluent in the band, if that gives you an idea.
Oh, wow. So nobody's
right, exactly. So to have somebody that was bilingual, knew all the hot spots. So we get out there, and before we even go to the stadium, the first thing we do is we go across the border, and he wants to take us over to his buddy who's got a restaurant on the front, and we have some fresh, it's right on the beach.
Nice.
And we have some fresh ceviche and some. Oh yeah, man! It was so much beer and Mexican food. It was like it was heaven. It really was. This was before quitting, obviously. But
This is
yeah, it was. So it was a good time. So we get there.
Roger. I don't know how to say that.
Belton Russell.
Belton Russell.
Yeah. So hey, Roger, if you're listening, and I don't know if you are, but if you are, shout out to you, man. You are numero uno. See, hey, there's some Spanish.
Hey, check it out. Numero uno.
Numero uno. Sound like a high school Spanish student here. So it was awesome having him there. I mean, not only for all the secret food spots and stuff like that, but again, he kind of made everything flow really easily.
And this is in TJ in what year?
This would have been, I want to say 2012, 2013. Again, I might be a little fuzzy on the dates, but it was early in the decade. And so we get there, and it turns out, as you alluded to, the stadium was actually a cockfighting ring.
Oh my gosh!
And all you guys get your minds out of the gutter right now.
Not that kind of cocks.
The only cocks over there were us. So yeah, but when you get in there and you're like in the middle of this ring, I just had this kind of eerie thought in the background, or the back of my head. I was waiting for the Jackass music to kick on and Johnny Knoxville to step out. It's like, all right, where's the bull?
Oh, here's a question real quick. Did anyone get violently sick from the food?
No, actually, everybody, we all three trips had a great experience. There was no, other than having to urinate terribly on the second trip. Everything was pretty smooth. We had a road trip the second time out, which I'll get to in a sec. But everything was easy going. No problems with the food. Bottled water, so there was no issue there.
So when you get to the cockfighting ring, is there a stage? So
they did. They had the stage. They were setting the stage up. You're using the back line. And so, I mean, you know how the back line is out here. That can be kind of hit and miss. Yeah. It can be even a little bit more hit and miss down there. And
how was it?
It actually was okay. And now I'm not the drummer, so you might get a different opinion from town. It was playable. I guess let's put it that way.
Okay.
And then, we get there. Show goes off without a hitch. It was amazing. Like you said, I don't know if there's a bigger die-hard fan base ethnically than Latinos when it comes to metal music. I mean, it's just, granted, internationally speaking, we've only really traveled to Mexico and Newfoundland.
What?
It's the northeast province up in Canada there. It's like world travelers. I'm sure, there might be some Germans or something out there going, hey, we like Metallica too. But
very true.
Right. But just from what I've seen, they are super hardcore out there. And so, they loved it. They ate it up and had a great time.
Here we go. From the man himself, ladies and gentlemen, Boyd, the original drummer. Already throwing rocks at Chris's house.
Trying to keep time. Slow the tempo down.
Oh, good times. Good to see you, Boyd.
Yeah, props to Boyd.
Man, that's awesome. So the first trip that you went down there, so you drove down there, you had a handler, you had a backline, you had all that stuff. And it was a one show? Or
it was just one show. We played that Saturday night and
drove back.
Turned around, came back.
So you didn't stay in Mexico?
Actually, no, that first night we did. We did stay in Mexico. I'm trying to. We did two TJ shows, so they kind of blend together a little bit. Again, this was back when I was boozing.
When you were boozing it up.
So I believe in that show we had a room, and we did stay in a room that night, and then came back the next day. The next time we went out, this was actually a flight. So we second show called us back, had a great time in TJ. Worked with the same guys, Music Zirconia. Hey, we got another offering for you. This one's for a show in Hermosillo. And we also want to set up another show on Friday night in a place called Obregon.
Okay.
Now, so what we do is we go to TJ and fly from the airport in Tijuana down to Hermosillo. Now they had a whole thing booked around this. We had an interview with a radio station down there.
Okay.
We had a meet and greet. We drove to Obregon that day, so we did the meet and greet in the radio station in Hermosillo, but we weren't playing Hermosillo until Saturday night.
Okay.
Friday night we drove. I think it's about 4 or 5 hours down to Obregon on what I would only describe as the bumpiest road that I think I've ever experienced. And we had a van, and it was the band, our handler, and we had a driver, and a huge cooler full of Tecate and Tecate lighters. We like to call it Pussycate. Yeah, that's what we call it out there. So we had a great time, road trip. Obregon was a tiny little city. And this is kind of getting back to what I was talking about before as far as fans. It's like, there's nothing going on out there. And it's like, this was the one thing that was going on, and they loved it. And had a great time.
We wear the shirts to prove it.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was great. We played that show, drove back to Hermosillo the next day. That show was at sort of an amphitheater, and there were a few thousand people at that show, and no security.
No,
so,
and this wasn't a cockfighting ring.
No, this was actually an amphitheater, and
Okay.
They had a big stage, the whole setup and everything.
And no security?
Yeah, no security. There was no security there, except for our handler and the driver.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so we're playing the show, and everybody's going nuts out there, and they start hopping up on the stage. And so our handler, quick thinking Roger, again, bless you, sir, he grabs them, shuffles them over to the side of the stage, and says, "Wait here for the meet and greet." We didn't have a planned meet and greet, but it was like, okay, this is kind of like our plan B. Instead of rushing the stage and ruining the show, let's have a meet and greet. So he's starting to line people up over here. And so at the end of the show, we get done with the show, everybody's going crazy, and then we probably had about a 2.5 hour meet and greet afterwards.
Hey, it's better than having him stomp out all the equipment
and they couldn't have been more appreciative either. It was it was so humbling to see how everybody was so awesome.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and again, still some of the best Mexican food in my life. Mm-hmm. we had some shrimp tacos the next day. Amazing.
And that trip, you went from there back. You flew back to TJ,
went back to TJ. So basically, when we're traveling to Mexico, we park at the San Isidro, whatever the shops are right there.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's illegal, but busted.
Just kidding.
Right,
maybe I don't.
Yeah, that's
figure it out
that's
yourself.
a head fake, right? Come find us. Yeah, so you park there, and then basically go across. They have a driver pick us up, go across, and then we just go to the airport and fly from there. But that was amazing. Now the last one we did was the black box in TJ, and that was fun because we got out there. I want to say the night before, and we stayed in a hotel room. And there were only 2 rooms with 1 queen bed. So it was like I Love Lucy, where, you have 1 foot off of the bed, I'll have 1 foot off of the bed. Yeah,
we're okay. It's safe that way.
Right, back to back, no spooning here. But yeah, we had that the first night, and then, we played the show at the Black Box. That was fun because we got done a little early and then had some time to kind of, tool around in TJ a little bit. So, and that downtown, so it was pretty crazy. When you've seen one donkey show, you got to see the rest, right?
You got to see them all. You have to.
Yeah, no, so it was pretty fun. It was an amazing time. Haven't been back since, sadly, but we'd love to.
Well, we do have there was a question up here, I think. Let me go back to this. My Aunt Tanya, whom I love with all of my heart, she has a really good question. Are venues opening up for you guys?
Some are. I mean, I guess right now it depends on the venue, and some of the venues are opening up with a different setup than what they're typically doing. For instance, with the since the shutdown last year, it's been almost a full year of everything being completely shut down. Mm-hmm. Have you guys had any gigs in the last year? Yeah, we've done a few. So we did 2 shows at Fantasy Springs Casino. Okay. Now they have a couple of things that are going for them. They do temperature checks there. They have the distancing and stuff.
Yes,
they have a mask requirement, right? So, they have that set up. I think one of their other benefits is it's an Indian casino. Yeah. And so
they can do what they want.
When it comes to Uncle Sam, they're like, hey. So They have shows there. We did 2 shows there.
They can do that, but because we play there as well. And one thing that they have been doing is they've been making great strides to work with what's going on, but to the point where they still, I mean, they were abiding by they don't have to do the curfew, but they were abiding by it on certain, like for performances and stuff, which is, so, I mean, with Fantasy Springs in this past year, if it wasn't for them, I mean, I don't know what, like, they were the ones that were keeping live music alive. So shout out to Fantasy Springs Casino, Paul Ryan, Lou, Jay, Mandy, everybody that's out there, David, Kirk, I'm forgetting Scott, like so many people that are out there at Fantasy Springs that are just every single weekend providing a platform for us to still do what we do.
Totally.
So you guys were out there, you did a few shows out there.
Yeah, we did a few shows out there, and then we also had a couple of shows in Atlanta, Georgia. So we had set that up, and that was also one outdoor festival and one indoor show with the spacing and such set up. I envision that probably being the future for a little bit until they get a little bit better handle on this.
Yeah.
Where you find the spaced out tables or the mask requirement. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get back to the mosh pit, right?
Mosh pit, yeah.
The House of Blues kind of style show for some time, sadly, but who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple of places out there that are starting to kind of accommodate, if you will, and so yeah, hopefully we got some.
Well, actually, let's go into this real quick. As of right now, like what shows do you guys have on the books for moving forward? I know you guys have a few.
Yeah, we've actually got a few coming up, and I did remember them. I normally am the lead singer, so I have that lead singer's disease where it's like, oh, I got so many shows, I don't know which one's which. I can't tell which one. So it's super embarrassing if you've got like 3 shows and you don't remember where they are. So we've got, we're going to be, first one coming up is going to be at the Encore in Tucson, and that's going to be my birthday weekend. My birthday's March 15th, so it'll be that weekend. Turn the clocks back too, so that'll be awesome. I like daylight at night.
Yes.
Well, not all
yes, please.
Yes, and so we've got that gig, and then a couple of weeks later, we are again doing Fantasy Springs. So again, a shout out to those guys for kind of keeping us sane and allowing us to kind of do this during this time period. And then we're I don't know if I can announce this or not. I think it's official, but we at least as far as I know, here comes the lead singer disease again. I'm not positive we're doing this or not.
It's okay. I already put it up there on the
right. So yeah, we're locked in. Sorry guys.
We're showing up if we're playing or not. We're going to be there.
It's on-screen negotiation right here. But yeah, we're going to be doing the Lake Elsinore, the stadium. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's going to be set up in a parking lot. So as you see some of these shows where they kind of do the sort of the drive-up thing or whatever, I believe that's what that setting is going to be. So.
And also, you can get all of this information on damageinc.us. Or if you need more questions or you have anything, please, I'm going to put his phone number up. If you have any questions, you can go to damageinc.us. You can reach out there. You can also reach out on Facebook, Tinder. I'm just kidding. You can reach out on Facebook and on damageinc.us. You can reach out to them for all of their questions for upcoming shows and stuff like that. We got a few more. And of course, my mouse likes to stop right then.
Papa's and Beers. We did not go to Papa's and Beers.
Where is that at?
It's Lavinia Santos.
Come on. Right. It's because I have I just changed the battery in this thing, so it's like tons of fun. There it goes.
It's still thinking about it.
It's still thinking if it wants to help me out.
Hey,
so
what have I got?
Papa's and Beers.
Yeah, we did not do Papa's and Beers.
Never played there?
No, just the black box out there. That stadium, the cockfighting ring. And then Overgrown was actually a flatbed with a stage kind of on it. One where you didn't want Kevin to do the stompy crowd walk too much.
That guy.
This whole thing's coming down, bro. Take it easy.
Well, he scares me because literally he has 2 bases with 3 nicks on his bases and all 3 nicks are from me. So if you guys are watching at home and you've never, someone commented way up in the top about a Damage Inc. Steel Rod collaboration, which we've had that a few times.
Yeah, quite a few times. We've been fortunate to be able to play some shows together.
Yeah, we in the past couple. Actually, you know what's funny is that here's a great story for you guys. So right now we live here in Huntington Beach, and we're at this incredible, huge apartment complex right here, and I could throw a rock right next door to him. Now, we've only been here now for 3 years, but I want to say it was maybe 7 years ago, somewhere around there, somewhere 7 or 8 years ago, maybe, that we lived in another building over there. We lived in building 5, and we lived in the same apartment complex, and we didn't even know it. No. We had no idea. Nope. And I'll never forget this. We were hanging out at Fantasy Springs Casino because I was playing the side stage with Steel Rod, and you were playing the main stage with Damage Inc. And we were done, and we were talking, we were just having fun, and we were just bullshitting about so are you guys going home tonight? You guys sticking around? And I was like, yeah, well, I live pretty far, so I'm gonna stick around here. Oh, where do you live? Oh, I live in Huntington Beach. Oh, me too. Whereabouts in Huntington Beach? Oh, well, I live off of Hamilton and Brook. Me too. Like, where off of there? I was like, at this apartment complex. And you're like, what building? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, the world just started going like that to the point where I was like, I think, I can't remember if my wife was there or if I texted her, but I was like, oh, I think she was there. And I was like, dang. I'm like, they're in building 5.
60 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
It was the most ridiculous. I mean, it was, and then I think at the time, Chris Brightwell lived here as well.
He did. And one building over too.
And so we were. I mean, that was just so ridiculous that how 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So we got Mr. Egger. Tell us about the worst equipment failure story that you've had happen. Oh yeah. While playing on stage in front of a large audience.
So probably the most nerve-wracking, and there's been a couple. Okay. I'm my own guitar tech. I don't have anybody there with me. I'm not the guy. So it's just me. And so if there's an issue that's happening, it's usually me that has to kind of troubleshoot it and figure it out while trying to sing. So we got a TV show, a live TV show. It's the world's greatest tribute bands. It was done by Access TV. Katie Darrell hosted it.
That was huge.
Yeah, she was awesome. That was awesome show to be on. So we got to play live at the Roxy. It was the first season, and it's a live show. So there is no record and do-over. There's no mulligan or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And so we start off with Enter Sandman. We wanted to hit the TV crowd with a song that was recognizable.
How many songs were you allowed to?
I think we had like 6 or 7. And it was really weird because of the way they had it set up at the time constraints. There was a commercial break, so you had to be really particular with the
you had a full set.
Yeah, actually, it was a full set.
6 or 7. That's like 3 hours.
Yeah, right. Totally, it's longer than the car right now.
Yeah.
But so the very first song was Enter Sandman, and we're getting right about to the guitar solo, and I notice I play a note, and all of a sudden my lower E string breaks. Now I have another guitar with me, thankfully, and it's the guitar solo, so I don't have to sing. So I happen to go put the guitar down, swap guitars out, throw the other one on, get it plugged in right in time to get back into the chorus. But that all happened on live TV, so I was like, it sure looked okay. Like, I've seen the tape, and you can't see the panic that was going. But inside, man, I was dying.
I'm sure they were panning. They were looking. Is it during the solo? They're probably on Brightwell.
Right. That was my hope. I'm like, hey, go check. Yeah. Look over there.
Don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go. The 6-foot Wookiee over here.
Oh my gosh.
Freaking out, sweating all over the place. Yeah. So that was probably one of the worst ones that I can think of. We also, at one point, we did entered a contest. It was like a kind of a greatest bands thing where we play with other bands, and then we had a 3-panel judge that would judge us on the performance. And so we made it to round 2 on that, and I was playing a pedal, and the way the power was set up, we were still kind of new at doing this, so my setup was a little ghetto, but I had my power plugged in basically across the stage. Mm-hmm. And so, we're going up to the stage, and Chris, my guitar player, Chris Brightwell, accidentally tripped on the cable and unplugged it. Well, I was using a wireless at the time, and it was kind of an early age of wireless, and so usually if there was an issue with the guitar, that's kind of the culprit. So the first thing I reached for was I gotta get the wireless and plug it in, or to plug in the cable. So I did that, and still nothing happened. And I'm like, oh god.
Oh, and you had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea what's going on. And I just happened to look over, and I saw that it was unplugged, so I fixed it. But it was right in the middle of the performance, and I'm like, oh, well, my guy's down, but. It wound up working out okay. We passed on to the next round, and it worked out. But that was another one where it was just like, I want to find a spot on the stage where I can just go hide. So they do happen. It's been a lot worse. I've seen worse out there. I feel for our buddies in True to Crew. They also did the live show, and I want to say with like 2 or 3 songs left, they had an amp malfunction that just quit.
Oh no!
It was just done for the rest of the night.
And the problem is when it goes to those live shows, live the like right now, this is live, right? So if something happens, I mean, knock on wood, like I don't want anything to happen.
We're gonna jinx this, bro.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jinx this, but that's the thing when you have that live performance, there are mishaps that happen plenty of times. You know? So.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, you do your best when you're on stage, and you know this, but you try and make it like, hey, that didn't even happen. Yeah. Didn't miss a beat. You try and play it off sometimes.
Well, the one thing that I learned from the incredible Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh? Yeah, Joe Walsh.
Eagles?
He has this famous thing where he says, if you pretend like you know what you're doing, people think you know what you're doing. And it's worked for us. It's the greatest piece of advice for anybody who's on stage at any given moment. Because trust me, I go back and we have Steel Rod VHSs from back in 2002, 2003, like way back where, I'm watching stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I met, 20 years ago, Whit Petrell, I would punch him in the face. Right. Like, I'm so glad that I've had some great personal growth since then. But seeing myself on stage and seeing the stuff that I did and seeing my face and seeing what I like. When you move forward, so when you're on stage and you gotta, hey, shit happens. And the funny thing is, as musicians, we recognize it.
Yeah.
But the best thing is, like when I go to a performance and I watch somebody who's up there, and I can see that they're struggling with something. But if I can see that they're just very composed and they're not letting it get the best of them, and they're working through it and they're doing their thing, and like for me, I'm like, that's a fucking pro right there. Right. That dude knows what he's doing, or that woman knows what she's doing, and because they know that they're on stage, they know that they're presenting that, and because literally 90% of the crowd has no idea that you're going through all this crap in your head.
Right.
So that seeing examples like that and listening to Joe Walsh and just moving forward, there's been plenty of times that I'm on stage with different bands, with Steel Rod, I also played occasionally with The Long Run, an Eagles tribute band. And there's times when we're up on stage and shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
But the show must go on.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments where you realize, okay, you have to have that balance of technical ability and performing, but the performing too is not just on your guitar or not just on your vocals, but it's also on your facial expressions and how are you
keeping your composure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And maneuvering the stage and just being able to, have that chemistry and that vibe. And because when you're, especially at a live venue, and now we're talking BC, we're talking before COVID,
right.
But like when doing shows like that, there's a chemistry that you have with the people on stage, with the people in the audience, and you're just rocking out.
Totally.
Now moving into this COVID stuff, did you guys do any like live streams and if you did, what was your take on that? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Was there technical problems? Like what, did you overcome them? Like what happened?
Well, we did. So we did a couple of live streams. One was in a live setting. Excuse me. Let me back up.
Mm-hmm.
One was just a recording of us where there was no audience.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a strict live stream.
But it was live.
Yes, it was live. We did it live.
Okay.
And I was probably close to the beginning. I want to say a couple months into kind of the lockdown where it's like, all right, well, there's no shows going on and we're dying to play. So we want to do something. And I'll tell you, it felt good to get up and play. and it was awesome to do that. To see the feedback online and stuff was very cool. There's something that's missing, though, and I mean, as a musician that plays live, like you were kind of talking about before, there's a connection not only with your band, but with the audience, too. And that's
that energy.
Right. And you really miss that when you're doing that feed. And now, is it better than sitting at home, Al Bundy style on the couch all day? It's like, yeah, sure. But it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
It's, it doesn't quite have that same energy. And I got to say, I mean, for me, really, that's probably one of my favorite parts of doing this is just getting that. I want to play to people and have them enjoy it. As much as I would enjoy seeing a show like that, and I go to the other tribute bands and watch those shows, and it's so awesome to see. When we're done and we get a chance to play with you or see you guys.
Yeah.
It's just so awesome to have that connection, see that live music, and just when you don't have that there, you're not able to see the immediate reaction from the fan. You don't hear the applause. You don't hear them sing along with you.
That's the weirdest thing.
It really is.
When you're doing the live stream and you're like playing it, and as soon as you're done, it's kind of like it's just quiet.
But I'm back in my living room and just playing to me.
but then you can look up and you can see like people are commenting and saying stuff like that, which is great. That I know that we're just doing the best that we can to bring that energy to. It is a different energy for sure.
It is, and it's better than nothing. And there are a ton of bands out there that would put a pillow over our face until our feet quit kicking, to be able to do some of the stuff like that. But it's like, it's just not the same. It's not the same when you don't have that audience interaction, in my opinion.
No.
So,
well, before we bounce, a couple quick questions. A couple of people had hit me up beforehand about personal questions about you. So, baseball team, favorite baseball team.
Now I'm a huge baseball fan, actually. So, favorite baseball team is the Angels, and that's just because I grew up an Angels kid. Dad used to bring me to the game when I was yay big.
Yeah.
And just have always liked them. But I can't really say I hate any team out there. I've got rivalries with Dodger fans. Half of my high school friends that I still hang out with, we're kind of split down the middle.
Okay.
There's always a fun group text going on during the season.
Sure.
But I got nothing but love for baseball. You know, half of my coworkers are Dodger fans. I think I commented earlier when they won the World Series that the day after when I came to work, it looked like Tommy was sort of farted in there. you got to rib and poke a little bit, but it's like, it's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, Angels all the way for me.
And I'm going to throw this in there too. You guys have, I've always wanted to go to a game with you because you go to games a lot. You go with yourself, your brother, and your dad. Mm-hmm. And you I heard the story about you guys bet on the game.
Yeah.
And like, tell us about that. How does that work?
So that's just something as simple as what we'll usually do is we'll bring dollar bills. So it's like, kind of like a strip club outing minus the stickers. We got a pocket full of ones here. It's like, wait, you guys are going to the ball game, right? I swear. No, but so what we do is it's like dollar bets on stupid stuff. And this could be something as dumb as I bet $1 that the next time the umpire throws the ball out onto the mound in between innings, that it stays on the mound or it rolls off, So it's like,
and then people
I'll take that bet, or they don't take the bet. So just something to kind of have some fun in between, So I bet the next guy strikes out, or the next inning the team gets a run, or something like that.
Okay.
So the problem is, and I don't have this one now since I'm not drinking, but as the beer kind of gets flowing, maybe it's almost like craps. You got 3 or 4 bets out there going on.
You don't know what's happening.
Yeah, wait, I bet that guy would strike out on the second pitch.
Did he? Wait, now you got to start thinking.
Right, exactly. So, it gets fun. But yeah, when we get back to a time where we can go attend baseball games, I'd love it if you came out. We have such a blast.
Man, trust me, I would love to. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I definitely have to bring some ones, because I feel like I'm just going to lose every single bet.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of people that have had beginner's luck, and really zero knowledge of baseball is required. So, like I said, we're betting on stupid stuff.
Okay. It's not like you're betting, I'll take 2-1 odds that this guy,
right.
It's
more
like
this average goes up to 267 by the
I
end
bet
of the
that
game.
This guy strikes out.
Right. Yeah, basically, it's as simple as that. Those are usually kind of the silly little bets that we have just to kind of make it fun.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, you know what? Before we bounce out of here, we've been up here for a little bit over an hour, and want to stay respectful to time. So, once again, what shows do you have coming up, and where can people see you?
We've got the Encore in Tucson, and that's going to be March 13th.
Okay.
The 27th, we are playing Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio, California. So that's kind of our local show, if you will. We're still working on getting something a little closer for the LA and Orange County peeps. And then we're also doing the Storm Stadium in Elsinore, which is April 27th.
Okay.
So,
and you can find everything also at damageinc.us. Damageinc.nosotros. Damageinc.us. You can find everything up on there. And before we bounce, I just want to let you guys know that next week at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, I will be having another podcast with the 5 Foot Viking. And my guest next week will be Kathy Groover. Once again, back by popular demand. We're going to go through she has a guided meditation that a lot of people have hit me up because 2020 has slapped the shit out of a lot of us. And
I think we can all use it.
I think a lot of people are looking for a way to meditate, a way to stay positive, a way to move forward. So we're gonna talk next week with that. So,
awesome.
So Chris, thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
And ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. Appreciate your support, and I will see you next week. I think that's how you turn.